Hey, are you a current or future RVer trying to decide whether keeping or selling your house is the right thing to do for you?
Well, we did both and have 5 questions to help you come up with the right answer.
Hey, we're Shar and Phil of A Year to Volunteer. We organize volunteer projects all around the country for RVers just like you, mostly at state parks.
So if that sounds like something of interest to you, go ahead and look below where we list all of our information and how you can get involved.
Yeah, check out our channel videos too because we cover all of our projects.
All right, let's get started.
Let's do it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask 5 questions. The first 2 questions are biggies, and those should really help point you in the direction on whether to sell or keep your house.
And then we have 3 kind of backup questions to help you answer the first 2.
You confused? Maybe I'm a little bit confused, but let's get to it, all right?
But we're going to make it easy.
All right, question number 1. Do you want to simplify or enrich your life?
And that's an important question. So if you want to simplify your life, you're looking at downsizing, scaling back. You want to have less to worry about, less to think about, less things to have to handle and manage. If so, you might want to think about selling.
Or do you want to enrich your life? And that means, you know, you love your life right now. You love your house, your neighbor, your neighborhoods. You've got tons of friends and family, but you love the thought of RVing and you want to make that additive to your life. That means grow your life. Then maybe you want to keep your house.
So that leads us to question number 2. Is your home where your heart is, or is your heart where your home is?
Confused again?
They're
Is your
not
home
the same thing, believe it or not.
Yeah. To define, like, is your home where your heart is? I think it doesn't matter really where you are. That's your home. For Shar and I, we live in our rig. That's where our heart is, and that's where our home is. And we talked about this before our video. We would go on cruises, and wherever we were in that cruise ship, we were perfectly happy right there in our cabin. Sometimes we had to be forced to kind of leave our cabin and go see the sights, but that's where our home was at the time because that's obviously where our heart was.
The opposite side of that is your heart where the home is. Is that home base so important to you? Is that where the family is, the kids, the grandkids? Is that where celebrations take place and holidays? If that's the case, then your home is really important and maybe keeping it is the right answer.
All right, so now, if you're not too confused, let's go to the 3 questions that we would like to ask you to help you answer these first 2 questions. All right, you home keepers, are you planning on leaving your home empty while you're on the road or having your home generate income for you, such as a rental or maybe even a vacation rental like VRBO or Airbnb?
If you want to keep your house empty, you have to remember that homes like to be lived in. They need breath. They need life. They need water running through the pipes. They need movement through all of its joints and its hinges. A house needs to be lived in for it to be in peak good condition.
So if you're going to leave your house empty, you need to make sure that you somehow keep that stuff going, whether you've got family members. You may not want to be gone too long either. Last year, our house was empty a fair amount of time and the seal in our bathroom ruptured and then the other toilet leaked. Then we had other issues. Some water pipes in our irrigation system burst. Stuff that never happened while we were there, because when you go static for a while and you don't fire things up, things tend to dry out. They tend to get tired, and then when you turn everything back on again, you have problems.
Yep. And then another option, so if you're not going to leave it empty and you don't really want to do the vacation rental, is just a regular rental, but that has its own headaches as well.
Yeah, no one takes care of your house like you do. That's the big thing that we've always noticed about rentals, so you just need to be prepared for that. And when things break, it's always going to cost you a lot more to get it fixed.
And it's a matter of who you have living in your home. Are they patient and understanding, or are they going to want things fixed right here, right now, all the time? And those are just little things that you're going to need to think about no matter what you decide to do with your house.
Yep. So vacation rentals, if you decide to go the vacation rental route, which is pretty lucrative because the rents are a lot more. We did vacation rentals for a little bit. We'll tell you at the end what we ended up doing with our home back in Scottsdale, Arizona. But if you do a vacation rental, everything is going to cost more because you're going to probably rent your place fully furnished.
Yeah.
And when things break, because tenants break them because they have parties and do whatever, you need to be prepared to spend to have that stuff replaced. And also furniture repairs, things like that. There's a lot of ebb and flow of costs, and whether your house is full or empty, you need to be prepared to have your house empty for a while.
Yeah, because sometimes you might have a gap between renters, and so that again brings you back to the empty part, and that's just another factor that you have to consider.
Yeah, so that right there is question number one, something for you to consider whether you're going to leave it empty, have it as a vacation rental, or just a regular rental. You need to kind of do the math on that, the mental gymnastics to decide whether you're up for leaving it empty or renting.
And to help you with the mental gymnastics, this is our next question, which is, have you considered the cost? Have you done a cost-benefit analysis on the bottom line? Are you going to make money? Are you going to break even? Is it going to cost you money?
And this is for both selling and for keeping the home. For selling, for example, what's the market doing? And how would you fare if you sold it? Obviously, selling high and buying low is what everyone wants to do. But depending on when you're going to make that decision, what's the market going to bear for you? And that's a very personal question. There are a ton of factors that are involved with this. And there's definitely good and bad times to sell your house.
Absolutely. So if you're in a high market right now, which is great, but what if you're not ready to make the decision to sell right now? Something else to consider is, how long have you been in a really good market? And if it were to drop shortly thereafter, you could be in your home for a lot longer while it's waiting to build back up again after it goes through its low and its high again. Are you willing to wait out that low spell so that the market values can come back up?
We're putting this on video because we know that y'all have done the mental gymnastics if you're a homeowner on when to sell. It's even more poignant when you're considering the full-time RV life or just getting out and RVing in general, because the impacts are greater, because you don't want to sell your house too low, especially if you're going to fund your travels.
But if we were to have a drop like we did the last time in 2008, it took a long time to recover. If that were to happen again, are you willing to hang on to that house until that dip recovers again?
And then I guess another thing, did we mention another thing is, what are you going to do after your full-time journey is complete? And and if you sell your house, whatever proceeds, are you going to bank that? Or are you going to use that to fund your travels? And are you prepared for when it's time to jump right back into the housing market? So think about that.
Yeah, if you sell high, are you going to bank the money and wait for a low in the market to buy something again? Or are you just going to bank it, or are you just going to go spend it?
All right, if you're keeping your home now, here are some costs that you need to factor in when determining how much money you have at the end of the month, because I don't think people really understand sometimes what the costs are associated. If you're leaving your house empty, it's pretty understood. You're keeping your utilities on, you're keeping the lights on in the house, and so you've got a good breakdown of what those costs are. But what if you rent, and what if you do a vacation rental? That kind of shocked us a little bit.
When we did a vacation rental, we really thought that we were going to be making more money at the end of the year. But after the mortgage and the taxes and the insurance and the utilities that we continued to pay, it really ended up being more of a break even.
Yeah. So some of the costs that you should consider: the mortgage. You're going to pay your mortgage. If you own your house free and clear, congratulations.
Yay,
that's
good for
awesome.
you.
You're not getting the interest deduction, but it's okay. And taxes, insurance, of course, they don't go away.
Nope. Paying your utilities. If you do a vacation rental, that is not paid for by your vacation renters. You keep paying those for whatever they're using, but they've also paid a higher rent price. So
to help you budget for that, if you do a long-term vacation rental, you might want to consider what the average amount of utilities are and then set that in a free zone for the rent for the vacation renter. And then if they go over that because of excessive use of utilities, then you can charge them a surcharge. You just have to put that in writing. Usually get a realtor to help you with all that contractual stuff. And that's for the folks who rent their house for like 2 to 3 months a year. A lot of winter rentals in Arizona, summer rentals up north, that sort of thing.
If you do more short-term rentals, then you are going to be paying fees through like VRBO or your Airbnb fees. And those have some risks associated with them as well. And sometimes they're monthly fees and sometimes they're annual.
Percentage of the rent.
Yep, it's just another expense that you definitely want to consider if you're thinking of doing any type of a vacation
So
rental.
take a look at those fees before you dive into a contract with VRBO or Airbnb. Also, if you're going to rent out your home, whether it's a regular renter or a vacation rental, make sure you have a property manager. A family member or a friend may not be the right answer, because I always look at it from the perspective of asset protection. You want to preserve your house, and most reputable rental companies will do periodic checks on the tenant. They will go in and take a look to make sure that the house is staying in good condition and that there aren't any kind of maintenance items that are going unattended month to month.
Correct. And then there's also a repair budget. Repairs are things that are not things you normally would expect to pop up. You get a roof leak, you need that to be repaired. A pipe breaks, that needs to be fixed. The dishwasher breaks, the washing machine breaks. Those are unexpected items that have a tendency to pop up when you're not living there.
Ask Shar how she knows about water leaks at home. The number one loss for home insurance is water leakage.
Water leaks, yeah.
So anyway, also a maintenance budget. This is like pest inspections or treatments, landscaping, pool, AC, semi-annual maintenance checks on your AC, stuff you need to keep up on, because you need to pay for that to keep your stuff in good condition. And we all know that stuff does not like to sit for a while. It just gets worse. So keep your maintenance in check and keep the repairs to a minimum. And then the last item.
Don't choke.
Yeah. Do we need to redo that section again? Do we need to redo that section again, or is she good? I think she's good.
All right, let's keep going. All right. No house is rented 100% of the time. If you have somebody who moves out, you're going to have a delay in marketing, advertising, getting it fixed up, doing anything you need to do, and then going through the background checks and the credit checks of getting somebody new in. There will be a gap, and you need to consider the time when you will not have a renter in your home.
So the last question is, what level of worry are you willing to accept?
And there's kind of a side to both of this. There's worry if you sell your house, and there's worry if you keep your house. This one was actually a huge deciding factor for me when we made our final decision about our house. But if you sell, are you okay if something comes up? You could have a health issue. You could have a pandemic. Are you okay with not having some place to go home to and that is familiar and safe to you? Or the opposite side of that is
keeping the house. If you're on the road and you've got a rental unit or your house is empty, are you willing to accept the fact that things are going to pop up? They're going to stress you out. I mean, things like, hey, a storm just went through our neighborhood. Or your neighbor calls up and says there's a funny smell coming from your house, or there's water leaking through our fence, or there's a big puddle where there's not supposed to be a puddle in your front yard. Are you willing to accept the fact that you're going to get that call in the middle of the night?
Yep. And even if you don't get that call, your property manager is going to get that call, and then they're going to call you the next day to ask how you want to handle it. So either way, you're getting the call. But also, if you've decided to rent, what if you've got this needy tenant that wants it fixed right now, and they do not stop until it's fixed. That's additional stress and worry. You know, when we had our house, we had a big storm roll through and our barbecue got knocked over on its side. The old grease got all over the putting green and it was there until somebody stopped over to check it out, and it had been there for a week at that point. And
yeah, artificial. It was an artificial. This is Arizona. Listen, man, xeriscaping your backyard is a great way to save on water, and you don't need to mow that thing. It was a beautiful putting green with artificial turf. Beautiful. That grease got stuck in there and we had to sort out the repair of that turf because the thing went through the putting green. Yep. And also the grease and stuff.
So what did we do?
So Shar said at the very beginning, we did both. That's exactly right. When we decided that we were going to embark on this full-time journey, we decided to go the vacation rental route because we lived in Scottsdale, Arizona. We were centrally located. The house was only 1,800 square feet, but they were commanding ridiculous luxury furnished rental prices, and that's I'm booming this and you guys can hear it, so I'll stop. But it was commanding ridiculous sums of rent. And it was cyclical by season.
It was very busy in the winter because they have great, easy, you know, not stormy winters. So winters were fantastic in Scottsdale.
We still had all the other stuff associated with keeping your house, the utilities, the maintenance, the repair, the needy tenants, although our tenants weren't that needy at all.
We had wonderful tenants, but still things happened and things went wrong that had to be fixed.
And we got lots of calls on how do we do this and how do we do that, and we just had to manage that. And it was something that we ultimately decided that we didn't want to accept. But even before we arrived at that decision,
I had said while we were still doing the vacation rental, I don't think it's worth it. The headache and the hassle and the wondering if the phone call's going to come in, wondering if the toilet's going to break or the ceiling's going to cave in, or it wouldn't because it was well taken care of, but if the roof was going to have a shingle fly off, if the pool pump was going to break, it just got to be more worrisome than I felt it was worth, and I felt much more at peace not having that headache over my head.
Yeah, but in the middle of that, let's see, this happened in, say, March or April of 2020. What happened out there?
COVID. So people weren't traveling in anymore. So the vacation market that we were depending on
collapsed.
Basically, yeah, disappeared.
It collapsed. And so all of a sudden that house went empty.
Now, kind of on the COVID talk, we found a way to stay on the road, stay in our RV, and keep living this wonderful travel lifestyle during the pandemic. But we know a lot of other people who wanted to head home, hunker down until it all passed by. We don't know which answers you're going to come up with, but we found state parks to be amazing during the pandemic.
It was great for us because that was our catch basket. We didn't even foresee that we would be so affected by our home situation, renting our home, as well as our on-the-road experience. A lot of fellow RVers that were out there got bumped out of national parks because of the national response, but the state parks took it as far and as long as possible. Ultimately, some states like New Mexico closed their state parks, whereas others were on the fence about closing, and we happened to be in Alabama at the time. And here's a plug for Alabama State Parks. They said, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen, but get in fast because we won't kick you out once you get in.
We won't kick you out. And what was even better is that we were doing volunteer work there, and the pandemic was still going on when our initially scheduled project was finished. They put us up at a whole nother Alabama state park for another 6 weeks to do work there. So state parks were amazing in our perspective, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. I would not have done the whole COVID experience any differently.
So we did both. We rented our house out initially, and then after 10 months, we said, forget it.
Yep.
We went ahead and sold it. Luckily, the market was on a high, and here's what we did. We sold our home for high, about 45% more than we bought it for in 2015, and the market is still pretty strong. So if you're still considering it, this may be a good time to consider selling your home, but then to be prepared to jump back into the housing market for whenever we're done doing what we're doing. We banked it.
Yeah, so this way, if the market drops back out again, we're in a prime opportunity to be able to pick something up at a very, below market price. So it worked out for us. It worked out in the beginning to keep it rented, and then we decided to sell, and it worked out for us as well. All in all, the decision is going to be yours. Hopefully these questions gave you some insight to things to consider to determine whether or not you're going to keep or sell.
Well, we hope this was informative for you. We hope that you like this. Again, if you did, please give us a thumbs up. Share this video, subscribe to our channel if what we do or what we've told you today is interesting, because we're going to keep it up.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in our volunteer projects, we've got a website, ayeartovolunteer.com, that lists out everything that's coming up, shows everything that we've done. If you want to sign up, just send us an email.
We know the word volunteer is not sexy, but we will tell you that as we crisscross the country and we meet RVers here at parks like this in New Salem, North Dakota, that once we tell people that we do RV specific volunteer projects a lot at state parks, they're instantly intrigued, because driving around the country and seeing the sights is fantastic, but taking a breather and actually giving back, particularly at state parks, who are either underfunded,
Understaffed,
don't have enough time to do repairs, does the body good.
It absolutely does. And we regularly say, where else can you walk into a room of strangers and instantly have three things in common? You join us on our project, you're probably an RVer, you probably like to give back, and you like to travel. So you're going to have something in common with every single person you meet.
All right, ask us your questions down below. Give us your comments, give us your feedback. Please be nice. Please be nice, but hope this was useful for you. All right.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.
Bye.
Bye.